Death Note is by far one of the more unique titles to come out of Shonen Jump, since it's not a traditional battle manga where characters swap hands to progress the narrative, but instead relies on its suspense and complex themes of morality to push the cat and mouse type plot of Death Note along to attract the viewers, making the story a cult classic and my personal favorite anime after all these years. It's also because of the way the show is written that you can't really put these characters in traditional versus debates. You can't have Light go against people like Jotaro or Ichigo, since they're superpowered humans and Light is just a normal human. But the Death Note itself has been in lots of discussions on how it would interact with other verses, like could he kill someone like Goku, or could he kill someone with Gojo's Infinity? But today I want to answer the question if Light Yagami with the Death Note could solo everyone in the One Piece verse. Now, due to the nature of this matchup, it's going to be very different from my other power scaling videos, since I'm not going to be using math or feats due to the fact that if Light were to fight anyone from the One Piece verse hand to hand, he would most likely lose, since there's no way for Light to physically win with any relevant character from One Piece, since he would just get speed blitzed and be killed before he even touches the notebook. So for this scenario, Light will just be a normal citizen in the One Piece verse, where the Death Note drops out of the sky, he picks it up, same way like he did in the show. As for where he's gonna be, Light will be at Logtown to start with, and the timeline will be set in the most recent One Piece arc, which is Egghead Island. Once he sees all the corruption from all the major groups in the series, such as the Marines, the Pirates, and the Nobles, this will stir an indignation within Light to want to eliminate all these criminals and politicians to make the world more pure in the eyes of Kira and become god of this new world. But let's establish some rules first for this scenario. Light will have no knowledge of his victims' names or faces or devil fruit abilities and will have to gather intel for his killings. He will also have no prior knowledge of what Haki is as well. Ryuk, Misa, or any Shinigami won't be a factor in this debate. If Light fails to kill every character in One Piece, or characters figure out where to find him and kill him, he loses this way. So with all this established, could Kira become god of the One Piece world? Okay, so for those in the audience who aren't familiar with how the Death Note operates, the writer must know the victim's true name and face, and imagine it, in order for the death to trigger. So how will he go about obtaining the identities of his victims? Unfortunately for the One Piece world, most of the Marines and Pirates have their names and faces on display for the public eye to see, especially with wanted posters advertising their names and photographs to Light on a silver platter. In addition to the strongest Marines being public figures in the entire world, there's also the fact that there's numerous Devil Fruit encyclopedia books that detail each recorded Devil Fruit ability and their weaknesses, meaning Light could obtain all this information just by walking into a library. Meaning Light would most likely learn about the fact that every Devil Fruit user is susceptible to drowning, a weakness that he will exploit to the fullest extent. This is already looking really bad for the One Piece verse, as this means that most of the Yonkos, Admirals, and most pirates in the new generation are already dead at this point. Even with some Devil Fruit abilities allowing them to survive earthly injuries like being shot or surviving high falls, or in extreme cases where characters can restart their heart, Light can simply control these Devil Fruit users to jump in the ocean and drown them, taking care of anyone with a Devil Fruit. Human characters also wouldn't be safe either, as they have no defense against the Death Note's death manipulation and would die of sudden death. The only characters I can see surviving are people who are not public figures in the verse, or who are anonymous to the public or don't have any public bounties for display. So this means groups such as the Revolutionaries or the CP9 agents would be safe from the Death Note. Oddly enough, characters who also wear face coverings like Killer and Burgess that cover their face would also be safe from Kira's wrath. As stated in the rules of the Death Note, a person must show more than 50% of their face in order for the death to trigger. In addition, anyone who uses an alias in their name would most likely be safe as well, as the Death Note would typically want the real full name of the victim in order to kill them. So something like Shanks and Crocodile probably wouldn't be accepted by the Death Note and they would be safe. Now you could make the argument that Light could get the real names of Shanks and Crocodile by manipulating Marine figureheads into giving him the real names to kill them, just like he does in the show with Ray Pember. But it's unknown if even Marines have the real names of these pirates, considering how elusive they are in this series. And before anyone asks, Light will not be making the Shinigami ideal in this matchup, since it wouldn't be in character for him to do so he won't make the deal here. Even with all these things going in Light's favor, there's actually a lot of factors stopping him from completely taking over the world. For example, Light can never travel outside into the ocean, as he could potentially run into sea monsters, natural disasters, or random raids that Light would have no way to survive. Even him running into a random no-name pirate with a Glock could put him down for good, since without Shinigami eyes, Light doesn't have a way to defend himself. There's also the fact that not every single character in the One Piece verse could be considered a human, as the first rule implies that only humans would be affected by the note, which brings into question whether the Death Note would even have an effect on species like fishmen or members of the Mink tribe. Characters like Chopper are also up in the air, as technically he is a human because he ate the human fruit, but he's still a reindeer. So how would the Death Note treat him? Would it see him as an animal, or would it see him as a human? I think if we stretch the rules for Light, in one of the rules of the notebook, it states that even the original owners of the Death Note do not know much about the note, implying that even the Shinigamis, the original owners of the Death Note, are not fully aware of the Death Note's capabilities and limitations, or who the Death Note could work on. Considering the fact that human beings are the only known sentient life within the Death Note universe among the Shinigami, it makes sense that they wouldn't include stuff like aliens or human hybrids, since they wouldn't know about them. So hypothetically, if the Death Note were to drop into the One Piece universe, I think we can quite reasonably assume that it would affect things like fishmen or Mink tribe members, or modified humans as well, since they would be categorized as human mortals in the eyes of the Death Note. However, even with this rule in mind, there's still some characters that raise even more questions on how the Death Note would interact with them. Brook, for example, is technically not alive, as he already died early on at the beginning of the series, as there's nothing in the rules of the Death Note that indicate that it can manipulate someone who's already died or can kill them again. So are there any characters within One Piece that could actually track down Kira? Well, there are mainly two Devil Fruit abilities that come to mind when it comes to tracking down Light and exposing him as Kira. Pudding and Viola both have mind-reading abilities that would instantly identify Light as the killer and would immediately put him down. Viola's ability in particular allows her to track entities at long distances via clairvoyance, meaning she could travel island to island with a small crew to find any suspicious persons or objects that could have caused all the killings, all while keeping a low profile. Due to her not having an official bounty issued by the government, and with no internet existing in this era, it would be nearly impossible for Light to get her real name and kill her. Any characters with advanced observation haki would also be safe as well, as they would be able to track down Light's murderous intent and kill him on the spot, even at long distances. As one of the main perks of having observation haki is that you can sense a person's intent to kill and their presence. Shanks, for example, has been able to affect people at long distances, as seen in Wano when he was able to sense and scare the crap out of Green Bull into retreating. Although the One Piece verse doesn't really have any high IQ detectives or strategists like that to track him down, the Devil Fruit abilities and the observation haki would flush Light out in no time. Other groups such as revolutionaries and CP9 agents would also keep a low profile, and they would try to track down Light and cover the ground. This might take time, but eventually they will catch him. And given the fact that there's no hope for Light to survive a physical altercation with anyone from the verse, Light is looking pretty screwed here. So to answer the question, could Light solo the One Piece verse? No, but he would honestly do so much damage to the world system there. If Kira was in the One Piece world and had a bounty, it would honestly be more than Roger and Dragon. So yeah, that was the end of the video. If you made it to the end, please subscribe to the channel. If you think I missed anything in the video about the One Piece verse, please leave it in the comments and let me know. Given how long this series is, I am bound to have missed something. And with that, I'll see you again soon.